Hello, everybody. I know, like, we all had a bit of a laugh. Well, I assume so. When I last did the video, and sort of went over this part, it was like unintentionally travelled, which is funny. It's funky. It's just hilarious, isn't it? Fucking unintentional travel. It really is crazy. However, I was like thinking about it the other day because I was like, obviously I checked the video out and look at the comments people have made, and it pisses me off. It really pisses me off. It's like I've become angry at him. After it's like this is a document that was wrote years ago. I've made how many videos about this guy, and it still find new ways to piss me off. It's like, if you think about it, right? He can babble on in this document how he's been coerced and how he's a victim and poor me and I was vulnerable and all this bollocks, and she used her female powers and played guilt trips. But he still has to sort of answer as to why he went to meet this kid. But he just writes it off and says unintentionally travelled, which makes no sense whatsoever. If I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back and visit the dinosaurs. I wouldn't go back and see the birth of the universe. I'd go back to when Lorne was writing this document and say, listen, fuckface, you tell me what unintentionally travelled means now. And see what he says. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, explain what unintentionally travelled means, please. Because, well, it doesn't. We can't explain it, but it just pisses me off how he just writes off his guilt as unintentional travel, and that's it. To meet her at Stinghouse, for example, after the decoy cunningly extracted sensitive personal information, cunningly extracted. It just beggars belief, man. And another thing that really pisses me off. And then he starts babbling on about how the government are conducting themselves and stuff. And there's something like the petitioner does not think we are at a point in our criminal history where the government needs to lower it. So, hang on a minute. This is a guy who proposed to a 13-year-old imaginary girl on the phone, got her to masturbate to herself, and, well, in the chat, not necessarily on the phone, got her to stick her finger and all that, and bloody... groomed a child, conducted one of the worst crimes that the human race is guilty of, if you think of the worst things that we've done as a human race, obviously, war and genocide are terrible, but that's something different. But if you're talking about on an individual basis, grooming a kid and using a child that doesn't know any better for your own sadistic purposes, it doesn't really get any lower than that. And then this motherfucker starts going on a rant about criminal conduct. And this is another thing. What is it now? He says something. I didn't really go into detail about this on the last video because I was kind of in hysterics. Hang on, I think I might have missed it here. All of these things are individually useful techniques. Hang on. Chatting online with a minor female is not such a terrible offence that the government, in petitioner's view, who gives a fuck what your view is? This is a guy who pled guilty. This is a guy who waived all his fucking rights to appeal. And he's babbling on, saying... it is not such a terrible offence. Well, we fucking know you think that, you motherfucker, because you did it and you don't care. I really should be, rise above this, but it annoys me. It annoys me. Because it's like, he kind of knows better, but he doesn't. He knows that he's bullshitting, but he kind of gets lost in his own web of bullshit that he kind of buys into it. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying. It's like I've heard some clip on YouTube a few weeks ago or something of him babbling on saying he still believes, I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, that he still thinks that he got involved in all this because he doesn't have the ability to say no to people. so he brushes it off that he's too good a person. I don't think any of the other predators have gone down this road, and it's so frustrating, and it's it's probably the main reason why all this, the sort of attractions to the Lorne saga is his inability to take responsibility. We all know that, but it goes beyond a simple denial. Very few people, if you go to somebody and they've done something wrong, it's like a road rage kind of thing. Very few people will hold their hands up immediate. It's like when you've done when you've done something wrong in the road, like made an error when you're driving. You won't hold your hands up and apologise to the person. You'll get annoyed at them getting annoyed at you. Listen, we all do it. I usually pretty spot on with stuff like that. I very rarely get involved, but like when I fucked up, and we have like crazy roundabouts in England, and they can be difficult to navigate. When I've made a mistake and pull out when I couldn't have done, someone beeps at me, I literally will gesture apology through the window, and that usually downplays the other person, and then they can't really get annoyed at you. But the initial typical response would be, if someone beeps at you, fuck off, what the fuck, and that's how road rage starts. And that's like, so it's counterintuitive to take responsibility, because you don't want to have to deal with a failure. It's your ego is trying to survive, and the ego can't be wrong, and you have to rise above your ego and hold your hands up and admit mistakes. So it's not totally exclusive to Lorne. We all do it, some more than others. But to get caught, even let's just say he sued NBC, right, like he did, for like 80 million or whatever, but at the same time kind of like said, you know what I did was disgusting, I need help, clearly got issues, blah 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 blah, or even to a lesser extent than that, and said, this isn't about my guilt which I'm dealing with, and clearly I've got a problem with then you humiliate me on TV. I don't need the additional grief as well as having a 5-year prison sentence. But he doesn't approach it from that angle. He approaches it from the angle that he unintentionally travelled to the Sting House, which is so frustrating. And I think this is really a big thing that he said here. Chatting online with a minor female is not such a terrible offence that the government, in petitioner's view, should be permitted to use agents under the totality of the fact. Now, I don't understand how that is written. It doesn't make any sense to me, that statement. Should be permitted to use agents under the totality of the facts of this case. That doesn't make any sense to me. You have to correct me if, But just look at the initial bit. Chatting online with a minor female is not such a terrible offence. Them are his words. Chatting online with a minor female is not such a terrible offence. Forget what goes after it. You could say, it's not in the context, but it's irrelevant. The context is, he has written, chatting online with a minor female is not such a terrible offence. Now, what could go after that would diminish that and put it in context? You could probably say, chatting online with a minor female is not really that bad compared to mass genocide. But he doesn't say that, does he? He starts babbling on about government agencies. And it's just so arrogant of the guy. He's such a self-centered piece of crap. In 2004, Dateline began producing and brought the Sting Operation. Well, this should be interesting. Not too sure if I've even read this. Right, 2004, Dateline began producing and broadcast a series of segments called To Catch a Predator. I wonder, did he? I mean, obviously, this was written under his guidance, but I'm not sure he wrote this word for word, NBC characterises the series as an investigation news series and refers to Dateline as a news programme. Working with perverted justice and local police departments, Dateline uses decoys posing as teenagers online to lure what? With the promise of sex. Individuals suspected of being... No, that's not true. To lure individuals suspected that they approached the females first, so it's irrelevant whether the person was suspected, unless he means, after we're looking at them and they're suspected. Well, if you're chatting up a 13-year-old girl or an underage girl in a chat room, you are a sexual predator. It's as simple as that. There, the decoy, who is an adult actor posing as a young teenager, supposedly home alone, invites the individual to the house. I'm not too sure they do invite the individual to the house. Isn't it always the it's, well, put it this way, Kayla never invited Lorne. Lorne invited himself. After a few moments, the decoy leaves, and the host of the show, NBC correspondent Chris Hansen, magically appears. Poof! Hansen confronts the individual and starts asking questions such as, why are you here? In some instances, the individual immediately tries to run out of the house. Surprisingly, however, in many instances, the individual answers Hansen's question and allows himself to be interviewed by Hansen, who is armed? How can you be armed with a armed with a trap? What's he going to do? Fucking throw it at his head and kill him? It is apparent that most of these individuals believe that Hansen, who does not identify himself at first, is a police officer or the father of the decoy. Oh, I don't like where this is going. At some point, Hansen will announce, I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC. I think you'll find that they stay there. He announces it every time. Upon exiting the house, the men are arrested by police. Several police officers who play guns force the men to the ground face down and then handcuff them. The men are taken to the police station where they are processed, photographed and interviewed by a police officer, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, we fucking know this. Get to the point, man. All these events, the arrival at the Sting House, the initial entry into the house, the first meeting with the decoy, the conversation with Hansen, the arrest outside, the processing and interview at the police station, and the, arraignment in court, I don't know what that means, are captured on camera. Right. To increase ratings, Dateline seeks to sensationalise and enhance the entertainment value of the confrontation. Yeah, I'll say that they've got to produce it in a way that's entertaining. It's TV. You know, if they did it without any music and without any kind of editing, and Chris Hansen wasn't acting up to the cameras, then it would be a bit boring. It's called television. It encourages the police officers to give a special intensity to any arrest, so as to enhance the camera effect. Oh, that's not true. I don't buy into that. They're just doing the job. Indeed, the mainstay of the show is public humiliation of the individuals who are lured to the Sting House by the promise of sex with a minor. Mainstream. I can understand why that could be said. But, right, let's look at this, right? Dateline, what you got to remember about To Catch a Predator is it was fucking cancelled because of the, is it Conrad Murray? I always get him mixed up with Michael Jackson's fucking murderer. Yeah, anyway, that guy, the district attorney of Texas or whatever it were, of Murphy, when the sister sued and he died, it ended basically, and they sued. They successfully. Well, no, there was a settlement reached, wasn't there? Excuse me. There was a settlement reached, and they paid out quite a lot, as we understand it, which means that if they've paid out, they are at guilt for something. Because, well, not necessarily, I suppose, but. The point is, there may be some questionable conduct on their part. If they were totally 100% above board, I mean, I suppose you could still settle because you can't be arsed with a court case. But you would assume that there are something. A company like NBC wouldn't back down unless they had to. So, I'm still. The thing is with these people who get caught, they're bringing them to the attention of the public, but isn't it the law's place to do that? Because they're acting as... Oh. Alright, okay. Hang on. I think I've lost me. Yeah. You know, it's the law's place to do that, so I can understand an argument as to say that it's not necessary. Do you get what I mean? You know, because I can't, even though Lorne's a complete idiot and he's a complete moron, I have to take this writing seriously if I believe it is. Otherwise, I can't, there's no point doing this. I can't just ridicule everything just for the sake of it. Yeah, so the point is, I do understand how it could be argued that putting them on TV before they've been even found guilty is... For instance, I don't think it's happened, but like, what about that guy called Sebastian who went there with his mate and he was let go by the police? His face is on that TV programme. So it's irrelevant whether they said in that segment that he was released by police. If his mates at college or whatever or wherever see him on that show, he's fucked. It's irrelevant. You know, he might not have known that girl was underage. I think he probably did. The point is, it's possible you could get caught up in all that and be innocent. There are people... Do you understand what I'm getting at? So that it is questionable what they're doing. However, if you're looking at it from an overall perspective, the amount of good that they do far outweighs any negative, and it's very rare that you're going to have a situation like that. It's like collateral damage, isn't it? And you know, for the sake of highlighting these people, I personally would say tough shit. You know, it's never fucking happened to me. So I get that argument, is what I'm saying. Let's see where he's going with this, right? So here we are. He's mentioning... Now, he has to bring that incident into it where the comrade... because it's like his ace card, isn't it? Like, oh, somebody killed themselves because of what they did to them. Oh, I'm going to jump all over this. Contrary to the Murphy operation, a petitioner. Don't you mean sexual predator Armstrong? Petitioner Armstrong visited a sting house in Kentucky where he was apprehended, prosecuted. So he completely misses out the part of what the fuck he was doing there in the first place and what he tried to do. Prosecuted and sanctioned with prison time 7 years in a state prison and 5 years. No, that's not true. He didn't get 12 years. Considering the local district attorney in Murphy, Texas, dropped their charges on the men who visited a sting house in Murphy, petitioner Armstrong has to suffer and I don't know how that says, miscarriage of justice, which crossed the line to a Fifth Amendment violation. I don't know why that is. What? Under the due process clause of the Fifth Amendment, no person shall be deprived of his or her life, liberty or property without due process of law. Well, he was under due process of law. What the fuck is he talking about? I mean, I understand his frustration. Let's just say... I mean, you know, you can't put yourself in these shoes, but I don't know. Let's just say that you decided, you was down on your luck and decided to rob a bank. And 5 other people robbed a bank, 5 different banks in the same town, and all the other banks had some kind of massive corrupt issue going on inside the politics of it, which meant that they could... I mean, this is ridiculous. This is just a silly analogy. Which meant that they couldn't prosecute any of the people that robbed them banks, apart from one bank where there wasn't any corruption. Everything was working perfectly. You got caught robbing that bank and you got sent down for 20 years, but the other guys got off with it. You'd be pissed off. You'd be very, very frustrated. But ultimately, you haven't got a leg to stand on because you still committed that offence. It's fucking irrelevant to your case what happened to the others. At the end of the day, like I said, I understand this frustration, but you tried to sexually abuse a underage kid. You groomed them online. You exposed yourself. You tried to do terrible things, and yet because other people got away with it, you think that you should get away with it too. It's an immature way of looking at it. Oh, hang on a minute. He's allowing the media entitlements here. While the news media are entitled to receive, investigate and report on all public proceedings involved in a trial, the right to gather news, much like other First Amendment's right, is not absolute. It does not guarantee journalists access to sources of information not available to the public generally, such as Petitioner Armstrong's apprehension. And I don't understand what he's... It's not guaranteed. It does not guarantee journalists, right? A trial court may refuse to allow the media to inspect documents. Oh, is he pissed off because they got hold of the chat log? To the extent the orders warn the media not to publish information illegally gleaned from confidential court files, blah, fucking blah, blah. Neither the First Amendment nor the 14th... Oh, get a grip of yourself, man. Considering Petitioner Armstrong has clearly demonstrated several of his constitutional rights have been violated by the government, he qualifies to be granted relief, i.e. his conviction should be overturned. Well, no, you haven't demonstrated... Look, Petitioner Armstrong has clearly demonstrated... No, you haven't. You haven't demonstrated shit. The only thing that you've demonstrated is you can't face up to your responsibilities. That's all. Right, in order to obtain relief from an entrapment claim, a petitioner who entered a guilty plea must demonstrate the existence of an error of constitutional magnitude that had a substantial and injurious effect on influence on the plea, i.e. a fundamental defect which inherently results in a miscarriage of justice. Well, where is this fucking inherently this fundamental defect? Where? Oh, hang on. Whether circumstances surrounding petitioner's plea agreement were sufficient to create a miscarriage of justice. Circumstances... Oh, God, it's hard going this. Hang on, let me take a drink. It's just water. I'm not like Adam, a permanent alcoholic. Circumstances surrounding petitioner's guilty plea were so... I don't know what that word means. Agree that his plea was involuntary, unknowing, and unintelligent... What? What? His plea was involuntary, unknowing, and unintelligent. No, it was intelligent, ironically, because he pled guilty because he was guilty. Scenarios that created such a guilty plea include, but not limited to, pre-trial publicity, not receiving all the government's what's it? I sound like a right thick fucking not being pronounced these words. His Miranda rights, his state of mind when he decided to visit the sting. What fucking... Unless he's insane, unless he can plead insanity, then that's totally fucking irrelevant. Visiting the Sting House when he was preparing to plead guilty, his psyche when... Before petitioner pled guilty... NBC aired To Catch a Predator show in which he was the predator. With such publicity, petitioner never would have received a fair trial. I understand what he's saying. However, that only really what's the word I'm looking for? That only really kind of matters, shall we say, with regard to somebody who was innocent. Because if you were pleading not guilty and you wanted a fair trial, and there was like a TV show out there, and it was like really unbalanced, and it was all one-sided, and it painted you in a bad light, and if the jury saw it, they might have a predetermined effect. However, let's just say for hypothetical argument's case that Lorne went not guilty. The jury all saw To Catch a Predator. The judge would say at that point, I'm sure, there would have to be some kind of compensation. There would have to be something where they found people for the jury who had not seen the show, because you're right, it would create a problem. It would potentially create bias, in that you've seen this TV show where he's already been portrayed as completely guilty. He's shown the chat log, he's turned up at the house, but he was completely guilty. It is irrelevant, even if they'd have done a worse job. And I'd really like that Simpsons where Homer's that one where he gets done for sexual harassment and they play the bad music and he's like, listen to the music, Marge is evil. Even if they had all that shit going, an grossly overweight pervert named Homer Simpson, babysitter, and the beast. That one. If it was like that, I get it. But there's a fair trial. He's clear. He tries to grasp everything to do with a normal court case, which has no relevance to his a fair trial. He pled. There was no way on earth what he's trying to do is he's trying to discredit. I mean, it's kind of what people do in court situations if they're guilty. They'll try everything to discredit the prosecute, the law enforcement, everything that got them to that case, and that's what he's doing. He's basically trying everything he possibly can, but he knows there would never have been a trial. And if there are, if let's just say that he did plead not guilty and all that, and it went to trial and there were jurors and all that, he wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. There's nothing. There was not even a hope. There's no such thing as a fair trial in his case. He's 100% unequivocally guilty. While certain aspects of pre-trial... Right, how long is this going to go on for? Sixth Amendment's provision for rights to fair trial before blah 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 blah. Government's evidence. Petitioner Armstrong acknowledges that he received his online chat conversation with the decoy and the DVDs of the arrest at the Stinghouse and his conversation with Hansen. However, petitioner did not receive evidence such as the search of his truck and... So he was given everything but the search of his truck, and now he's saying that means he should be fucking pleaded, he should be found not guilty. Which is basically what he's getting at, isn't it? You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, guys, because I'm getting pissed off, and it's Sunday, and I'm going to have a nice day, because it's the first day I've had off in a while, and I don't want to be wound up thinking about fucking Lorne Armstrong, so... I just thought I'd share this, and I hope you have enjoyed it to some degree. And I will speak to you soon. There will be another stream with Shins Koala coming soon. I don't know when that is going to be. Maybe... Yeah, maybe quite soon. But I'll go on holiday for a week on Tuesday, so it might not be fair. But anyway, I'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you very much. Leave any comments, and I'll speak to you soon.